for this video, call me the selector. Hey y'all, Gravity, any day above ground, live it. So you already know what to do. Share, like, and subscribe. That's right, share, like, and subscribe, because I'm not like other YouTubers. I'm different. I had to wear this shirt today, folks. American raised, Jamaican rooted. Now, I know FBA, y'all pissed. I know y'all mad at me for wearing this shirt, but I wore this shirt for a reason. This is part 2 of this little series that I'm doing about hip hop and all that. The first one, which you have up here, I went after Busta Rhymes for lying, saying that Caribbeans and Latinos created hip hop. So you're just going to dismiss what Black Americans have contributed to the genre. Well, I said, you know what? Let me do a part 2 and talk about the history of reggae. So that's what we're going to do today. It might be a long video. I ain't sure yet. We'll see how it goes as I disseminate the information to the people based on what's on the internet. And, you know, maybe it'll, bridge some gaps and remind some people of where this popular genre of music has come from and where its roots are, because apparently since hip hop is on the chopping block, all of a sudden everybody wants to divvy up the pieces to it and claim they created this, that, and the third. Let's take a genre of music that everybody can relate to and has heard before in the past, and let's see where their roots came from. So let's begin, folks, because again, we got a lot to talk about. All right, so we're on Wikipedia, and I know people are like, Wikipedia is not always credible, but for this and the history of reggae, because I don't have any of the greats around, we'll just use it as a source. So it says, this article is about the music genre. For other uses, see reggae disambiguation. Not to be confused with reggaeton. So Latinos, sit this out. We're not going to talk about y'all yet. So it says reggae is a music genre that originated in Jamaica in the late 1960s. The term also denotes the modern popular music of Jamaica and its diaspora. So they're leaving it to just strictly the island of Jamaica and probably those that were abroad. A 1968 single by Toots and the Maytals, Do the Reggae, was the first popular song to use the word reggae, effectively naming the genre and introducing it to a global audience. While sometimes used in a broad sense to refer to most types of popular Jamaican dance music, the term reggae more properly denotes a particular music style that was strongly influenced by traditional Mento, as well as American jazz and rhythm and blues, and evolved out of the earlier genres ska and rocksteady. Reggae usually relates news, social gossip, and political commentary. It is instantly recognizable from the counterpoint between the bass and drum downbeat and the offbeat rhythm section. The immediate origins of reggae were in ska and rocksteady. From the latter, reggae took over the use of the bass as a percussion instrument. And if you look on the right side, folks, it says stylistic origins, Mento, a style of Jamaican folk music that predates and has greatly influenced ska and reggae music. It is a fusion of African rhythmic elements and European elements, which reached peak popularity in the 40s and 50s. Mento typically features acoustic instruments such as an acoustic guitar and other things. Calypso, Afro-Caribbean music that originated in Trinidad and Tobago during the early to mid-19th century and spread to the rest of the Caribbean, Antilles, and Venezuela by the mid-20th century. His rhythms can be traced back to West African calypso and the arrival of French planters. I'm going to probably butcher this, but we'll see. Naya Binghi is a prominent figure in the history of Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania, where religions or possession cults formed around her. R&B, we all know what that is. Jazz, ska, rocksteady, and soul music. And we all know what soul music, folks. Soul music, often referred to simply as soul, is a popular music genre in the African American community throughout the United States in the late 1950s and early 60s. It has roots in African American gospel music and rhythm and blues. Soul music became popular for dancing and listening in the United States, where record labels such as Motown, Atlantic, and Stax acts were influential during the civil rights movement. Soul also became popular around the world, directly influencing rock music and the music of Africa. Interesting. See, you got to find the through lines in things, folks, so you can understand its history. So its stylistic origins were Trinidad, Africa, Jamaican folk music, and American jazz, soul music, and R&B. So if FBA were so inclined, they would say they created reggae. But I know y'all don't want to have that argument. But let's continue. Reggae is deeply linked into Rastafari, an Afrocentric religion which developed in Jamaica in the 1930s, aiming at promoting Pan-Africanism. Soon after the Rastafarian movement appeared, the international popularity of reggae music became associated with and increased the visibility of Rastafari and spread its gospel throughout the world. Reggae music is an important means of transporting vital messages of Rastafari. The musician becomes the messenger, and as Rastafari see it, the soldier and the musician are tools for change. Stylistically, reggae incorporates some of the musical elements of rhythm and blues, jazz, mento, celebratory rural folk form that served its largely rural audience as dance music and an alternative to the hymns and adapted chantes of local church singing, calypso, and also draws influence from traditional African folk rhythms. Let's move down a little bit. Let's see. Reggae is noted for its tradition of social criticism and religion in its lyrics, although many reggae songs discuss lighter, more personal subjects, such as love and socializing. Reggae has spread to many countries around the world, often incorporating local instruments and fusing with other genres. Reggae and Espanol spread from the Spanish-speaking Central American country of Panama to the mainland South American countries of Venezuela and Guyana, then to the rest of South America. Caribbean music in the UK, including reggae, has been popular since the late 1960s and has evolved into several subgenres and fusions. Many reggae artists began their careers in the UK, and there have been a number of European artists and bands drawing their inspiration directly from Jamaica and the Caribbean community in Europe. Reggae in Africa was boosted by the visit of Bob Marley to Zimbabwe in 1980. In Jamaica, authentic reggae is one of the biggest sources of income. And then we move down a little bit, folks, and we go to Precursors. So it says, reggae's direct origins are in ska and rocksteady of the 1960s. And rocksteady is a music genre that originated in Jamaica around 1966. A successor of ska and a precursor to reggae, rocksteady was the dominant style of music in Jamaica for nearly 2 years, performed by many of the artists who helped establish reggae, including harmony groups such as Technique. Where the hell is it? Such as Technique, the Techniques, the Paragons, the Heptones, and the Galens. Soulful singers such as Alton Ellis, Delroy Wilson, Bob Andy, Ken Booth, and Phyllis Dillon. Musicians such as Jackie Mento, Lynn Tate, and Tommy McCook. The term rocksteady comes from a popular, slower dance style mentioned in the Alton Ellis song Rocksteady that matched the new sound. Some rocksteady songs became hits outside of Jamaica, as with ska, helping to secure the international base reggae music has today. So far, we have seen that reggae music has had diasporic origins in Africa, in the United States, and Caribbean. Which is fine. You got to know your history, folks. You got to know your history of it. So for this conversation, you won't hear too much of a debate on where it came from. People recognize that it started in Jamaica, but they also have to recognize that America and Trinidad had influences in the formation of reggae. Nothing wrong with that. But let's continue. Yeah, so I'm over here looking up American jazz and its influence on reggae, and it's crazy what I found out, because during the Second World War, a lot of American soldiers would bring their phonographs and records over while stationed in Jamaica, and a lot of the locals heard people like Fats Domino and Dizzy Gillespie and Louis Armstrong and all these legendary R&B and jazz figures, and that it helped inspire the new breed of reggae artists that were soon to come, like Duke Reed and Coxsone Dodd, and Jimmy Cliff, Paul Douglas, Toots and the Maytals, Bob Marley, who has even been on record saying that he listened to Fats Domino. You could find that on Twitter. You know what? I'll do it for you, folks. I'll play the clip.
Because the calypso was always there first.
Right.
You know? And then when the musicians in Jamaica started to play, a lot of them can play calypso too, because they play a lot of calypso. But because the American influence music come past through down there, you know, them start to kind of get more to, them time used to have Fats Domino.
Yes.
And plenty of them type of people. So after a while now, the music start drift from the reggae to, it used to be a music almost like a half blues. I used to play before.
So y'all heard it straight from his lips. It started with calypso, and then the American influence came. But you don't hear black Americans saying they created reggae. That's not theirs. They know where the origins came from. They understand where their place in it is. So why is this discussion over hip hop the opposite, the antithesis of this? Again, all those reggae artists that came before 2022, we're talking the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, they were influenced by American jazz. They were influenced by calypso, R&B, soul singers, James Brown, Aretha, the whole of them. Because at that moment, in that space of time, that's who was marketed. History tells us this. Soul music, R&B, jazz were marketed around the world. It was played in Europe, played in Asia. It was played in South America. It was played in America. It was played in the Caribbean. That's who it was. So the history of reggae has American roots. Now, Brother Dwan B on his channel broke it down way farther than I have done. This is just me on the reggae side. He actually broke down where it came from and who said it and things like that. So I'll leave his link in the description box as well. But let me just end it off with this. Folks, for those running around, the Caribbeans and Latinos running around saying that they created hip hop, you should not feel away because FBA and Freedmen are getting in your butts. I do want to curse, but I'm not going to curse here because I actually want the full monetization. But you can't feel away about that. You're trying to take away their history. And we can't have that. Any old reggae artist you look up, I guarantee you they'll tell you their influence came from James Brown, Fats Domino, Pigmeat Markham, The Temptations, all these R&B, soul, and jazz groups whose music was brought to that island, who influenced, along with ska, rocksteady, Mento, calypso, that influenced what reggae is today. You have to acknowledge that. Hell, ask hip hop artists and they'll tell you what music they grew up on. Sure, they probably grew up on reggae music. It was there. But more often than not, they'll tell you they grew up on soul music, R&B, and jazz, because a lot of them grew up with them grandmothers, and that's all they would play. And gospel music. That's all they would play. So I hope this serves as a lesson plan for you guys, and a moment where you guys have to stop doing this. We have bigger fights out there. And the problem with these bigger fights are the enemy knows the history. Because once you know the history of someone, you can develop tactics to separate them. And this right here, yes, it's a history lesson of where a particular music genre came from, but this shows that I gave FBA, who already knew this, but I'm giving the rest of the world the history lesson of reggae music, because I don't want this to be used against us. I'm Jamaican. I love reggae music. I don't like a lot of it that's perpetuated now, mainly because of the stigma that dancehall has put on the entire genre. But we've got to acknowledge that America had a very big influence on what you're hearing today. Hell, dancehall has a very, very big thank you to give to hip hop. And hip hop told dancehall, hey, you guys can come in and eat. We can sit there and break bread. Everybody can eat. Which is why you saw in the mid-2000s all those hip-hop and reggae collaborations. Elephant Man doing songs with Busta Rhymes. Sean Paul doing songs with Beyonce. Everybody can eat and make money. Bring two cultures together. Blend it into something nice. But then you guys are sitting here now listening to people like Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe try to rewrite history when the history is there. Now, I should be petty and do a part 3 where I explain how James Brown is the godfather of reggae, but I'm not going to do that. I really sincerely was about to make that video, but I'm not even going to do that anymore. I actually want to put this to bed. So all in all I'll say is this as I close. Enough with this. There's bigger fights out there. This is just dividing us. But anyway, let me get up out of here. You already know what to do. Share, like, and subscribe. That's right. Share, like, and subscribe, because I'm not like other YouTubers. I'm different. Take care. Stay safe. I'm out.